Hi everyone, it's Melanie from Streamline Legal, where we help law firms grow. And today I was really excited to come on here because it's been a long time since we've done any type of product highlight or feature announcement or anything like that. And so Clio's come out with some really exciting new ways to track our expenses, and I wanted to share that with you. So I'm going to go ahead and show you. Now, the first thing to remember with Clio's new expense tracking is that it's not automatically on your account. In order to set that up, you will, or take advantage of this feature, you will need to go ahead and head over to the settings of your account. So I'm going to go ahead and do that here for you to see. And once you get into settings, you're going to want to go over to billing and click on expenses. Now, depending on what kind of permissions you have, you may or may not be able to access this. But if you're an administrator, you should be able to. So I'm going to go ahead and click on expenses. And if I check this box, then now I can distinguish my expenses between hard costs and soft costs. And so I did go ahead and check that box so that we can take advantage of that feature. So I'm going to go ahead and show you in the screen where we're tracking our expenses. We're going to see only our expenses here. I'm going to go ahead and look at them since the beginning of the month. And here we'll be able to see now we have this new column called type. And it's got an H for hard costs and an S for soft costs. And so it's super easy now to see at a glance what's a hard cost, what's a soft cost. And not only that, now I've got all kinds of information. For example, I can see if it's been billed or not. So when I get to the end of the case, make sure everything's been billed as far as the expenses go. And then I can also see the expense category, what we've been spending all the money on. So that's really, really helpful. And of course, it's going to add it up at the bottom of the column here as well. Now, keep in mind a couple of ways that we can manipulate this data. So number one is that we can go ahead and click on this columns button. And if I don't need to see the actions or the non-billable stuff or anything like that, I can go ahead and adjust these columns so that it gives me a better view of what I want to see. Additionally, I can go ahead and click export at the bottom here, and it's going to export all of this to a CSV file for me. And I can either export just the columns I picked on the screen, or I can export all of the columns that it has data available for. So once I click export, we can open that in Excel and manipulate this however we want. We can sort it, we can do whatever we want with it. Another thing that I wanted to show you guys is the idea that we can also filter right here in Clio as well with some of these options. So definitely take a look at that. Again, here's how we would create a new expense. We're going to go up to create new from any screen. We're going to click expense entry, and it's going to give us the option of, is it a hard cost or a soft cost? We're going to go ahead and pick a category if we've made one. The reason that these categories are so cool is because I can pre-program in the amounts if I know them and if they're constant. So for example, every time I file a complaint with the county, it's going to be $315. So that one I can program right in, and it's going to put in that amount. Now, of course, the amounts may change on some of these expenses, so that won't work for everything. But if it is consistent, I can program that in there. And on the hard costs, I can go ahead and select who the vendor is so that I can go ahead and track by vendor what kind of costs I have, which is really, really helpful to make sure that we're not missing anything again. So if it's a soft cost, I can go ahead and click here. And of course, it's going to ask me how many of these things, was it postage, was it copies, and how many of them did I make if we're tracking something like that. So go ahead and check that out. Again, I really think that the new way of viewing these expenses is very helpful to be able to keep track of them and make sure that we're not missing anything. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Have a great afternoon. Thanks for joining us.